So I went and rewatched Evangelion Death True and Rebirth, as well as the End of Evangelion. And it was just as, or actually, it was even more beautiful than the last time I had watched them, just being at the house. So they did a special theatrical run of both of them for the 30th anniversary, and I'm the kind of person who loves a movie theater, the popcorn, the large diet soda. And for me, I gotta pick up a bunch of crunch and toss it in with my buttery popcorn, right? That's my perfect environment. There's not much better than that as far as nights out goes. And originally, I was just gonna watch the End of Evangelion, but since this was the first time Death True and Rebirth was coming out in the US, I had to watch it as well, and that was worth it. Now, I'm always down to watch some more Eva and piece together parts of it and make more sense of it every time. I mean, I have the entire series and rebuilds on DVD or Blu-ray, I guess, right? So obviously I'm not gonna miss this opportunity. But of course, the End of Evangelion was the main course for sure. And my theater was packed. You'd have thought it was a first showing or something. Some of us were wearing our white button-up shirts and dress pants, because why not? We got free agency. And, we were sat down, and of course it starts with probably the most iconic scene in the entire movie, the hospital scene. Now my expectations were that somebody was gonna say some meme or blurt out something, but surprisingly, no one did it. It was kind of, it was a little uncomfortable, because I'm sitting here with a bunch of people that I don't know watching a kid jerk himself in silence. But I guess that's kind of the point, right? You're watching Asuka unlock herself and break from the grips of self-deprecation, and Unit 2 going nuts on the military and, fighting the Eva series, all on a big screen with sound that you can feel in your seat, right? It's vibrating. And it made it extra glorious. I've watched this multiple times, but this environment, it brings out the best in the animation, and it becomes a spectacle. The guy sitting next to me is taking his glasses off and wiping his tears away after conversations with her mother. And I'm thinking I'd be doing the same, bro. But unfortunately, I'm on 3,000 milligrams of ashwagandha right now. So yeah, we watch all the way up to essentially what is the halftime show. Well, it's actually the end of episode 25, but my personal take is that more movies need something like this. It felt so good to just have an entire theater be able to just start yapping, and then some guy, he did the feet projection thing with his phone light, and everyone's laughing. But as soon as it was over and it started to play again, everyone locked back in. I loved how that played out. That quick breath of fresh air it was super enjoyable. And the part that I thought would hit the least in theaters were the scenes in which human instrumentality is taking place. Because obviously the third impact was, glorified to divine levels by the big screen. However, instrumentality, it feels so personal when you watch it. And, when I first watched Neon Genesis Evangelion and the End of Eva, of course, I watched it in my own room, door closed, with blacked out curtains. So it was made personal. But when watching it in theaters with all these other people who, while I may not know them, we share this one thing in common that we love, and that's Eva. And this actually enhanced my experience with human instrumentality. Well, not my actual experience, because I wasn't actually going through it, right? But no, this is what human instrumentality is. It's the breaking down of barriers between others. And having us all be here collected together, enjoying this experience, it made me truly proud to be a fan of this series. Because what it means to try to understand Eva, to me, is that you're trying to understand yourself and using Eva as a medium to connect your thoughts and conclusions. I'm not necessarily going to follow exactly what guidance Eva gives me in my real life, because it's an anime, right? But I can use that guidance to extrapolate what I know and make the future of my life worth more. Because what I've always wanted in my life was purpose, and people all around the world, no matter their inherent traits, are searching for that as well. And as we came to the final scene, Shinji goes back to being himself, and he takes his anger or confusion, or maybe it was revenge, There's a lot of feelings he's experiencing in this moment, but he takes it out on Asuka. And, the movie ends so abruptly. I was confused, and pretty much everyone in the theater was, but there's no music, no credits, nothing. And I'm not sure why I expected there to be, because no other version of the End of Eva I've seen has an ending with music or credits. But it was definitely very interesting to see how it played out in a theater. And I just loved this experience. And maybe I'm gassing it or whatever, but Evangelion holds a special place in my heart that no other show occupies. And I'm glad that I took the time to watch it in this environment, one that I cherish, and I took my wife, so it was also it was with somebody that I cherish. Evangelion is one of those few things that has helped me piece together my purpose and reeled in my mind to realize my value. Obviously, it didn't solve all my problems or something, and I mean, it was never supposed to, and I don't believe Anno ever wanted people to use it like that. But man, has its works provided me with so much more peace. I feel as though some walls in my life that I've placed between those that surround me have slowly but surely been torn down brick by brick as I age. And one of the greatest lessons I learned from watching the show, not necessarily End of Eva, but it was the scene in which Asuka and Shinji are alone for the night, and she tells him essentially that these are the walls of Jericho, do not step in, as she slams the door closed. And she wakes up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and when she exits, she slips next to Shinji to sleep beside him. And I'm sure y'all know the rest, but this made my brain click. If you don't know about the walls of Jericho, they surrounded a city in the Bible and were eventually brought down by God after he told the prophet Joshua and the Israelites to encircle the city once a day for 6 days, while priests carried the Ark of the Covenant. And on the 7th day, they marched around the city 7 times, then a long blast from the priests' horns, and a great shout from the people. And huge emphasis on the great shout, right? The walls of the city fell down flat. So Asuka claims to not want him to enter through her walls, but the truth is she wanted Shinji to speak to her. She wanted him to open himself up to her so that she could feel his love. And this metaphor shifted my thought at first listen. And this was such a simple and even subtle scene, but it held so much weight in the story and in teaching. Overall, I know that didn't necessarily have too much correlation with End of Eva, but I just wanted to express something that I took from the series that I try to apply to my own life. Because people will set up these fake walls, ones that they want you to tear down, and most of us will run away, like Shinji. I mean, because it's human nature. You don't want to intrude on somebody, but you really have to take into account their thoughts and what they've been saying, what they've been doing, their actions. Because from our perspective in the show, we can understand that what Asuka really wanted was exactly what I just said. She wanted to feel love, and maybe we need to do a better job of that in real life. And try to understand what a person really wants. And don't conform to them. Don't break your morals for them. Don't break your standards for somebody, but understand who they are and what they want. And of course, the End of Eva was a masterpiece. And there's a lot of messages you can take from, the movie or the show or whatever movie you want to take it from, right? From the series. But of course, I got to end it with the most important thing and the most important lesson or person that you can find lessons from, because even Anno, he doesn't want you to necessarily use Eva to formulate all your thinking, right? He wants you to go outside. Like that's really it, right? But I think it sets up perfectly because he puts in all these Christian symbolisms, right? Or he also does Jewish symbols, right? But it's a lot of religion within the story. And I mean, he stated many times that they weren't there for specific religion reasons, but obviously he uses them in a way that is purposeful. I mean, they're symbols. Not everything is random. I mean, and I know people want to just act like it is, but of course, like I always say, anything that's good is godly. So any lesson that you can take from the show is godly in itself, right? It's just inherently godly. And I think it's an important step to go from Eva if you are not somebody that follows God, but it is important to run away from those lessons in Eva and run to something that is existential to humanity, which is God, right? Or it's not something, but someone. Because God ultimately gives the youth, or not just youth, but humanity, the greatest value. He glorifies us and we glorify him. But yeah, I would like to get into that more in another video, but it's kind of my final takeaway. So, shout out to those that went to watch it and, supported the series. And let me know what y'all thought or felt while watching it, or how the theater was, or how many people went, because the experience was amazing for me and my wife, of course. But yeah, that's all I got. God bless. Deuces.